trucker hat or something.
We just got our koozies in. We ran out, so we just.
Where's
got
the
those
QR
in.
code take me to, like, your website?
Yes.
Well, to that,
it takes you to.
Gotcha.
Right.
Which I checked out yesterday, by the way. That's how I knew that you weren't a former cheerleader, because there was a nice little link.
Oh.
I want to know. Sorry.
No, go.
Yeah, sure.
Before crypto was a thing, were you just in like regular banking?
I was, and I left and went to Haiti. That's where I discovered blockchain crypto, down in Haiti, in a jungle.
Haiti?
In
How?
a jungle.
Wait, no, that I don't believe that.
It's a true
How?
story. It's a true
How
story.
does that even make
2015.
sense?
This is like 7 years ago. This is before you were using Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you discover
in
crypto
Haiti.
in Haiti, in a third world country,
Yeah.
in the jungle?
Yeah.
There's no technology there,
Right.
from what I would think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Please explain.
Is this recording now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Edit that out, right? You want to ask that question again?
No. You're good.
So I was working for an international nonprofit called Hope for Haiti at the time. My career began in banking when I was younger. I did banking for a while, large corporate commercial banking. And I said, this is kind of boring because there's no innovation. There's no energy in the space. I have to do something different. I knew a family who was very connected in the Northeast. They knew a lot of the hedge fund types. They said, hey, we have a partnership with the Dalio Foundation. So there's this guy named Ray Dalio. He runs the world's largest hedge fund called Bridgewater, 150 billion. He's really interested in like empowering really, really poor people through microfinance lending. And so his foundation, the Dalio Foundation, allocated resources to our foundation to go make loans to like really, really poor people in like southern Haiti. It's 2015, and there's this guy who has this tree farm project in the jungle. He's growing trees, he's selling the cherries, he's like making money, and he needs a loan to buy more land and grow more trees. I go out to the plot, I talk to the guy, he's doing well. Now I have to actually get him the money. Well, getting money in like a developing country is very hard. The banking system isn't very good. You don't want to carry cash. So a couple of years before this, in like 2012, a cell phone company developed a system called MonCash, which allowed you to text money from one cell phone to another, not with an app like we have now, but you would give me your number and I would actually text how much what's called Haitian good, their currency, I was going to send you. You take that, you take your phone, you take out the SIM card, you plug it into a slot at a dispensary, and then you get your money. So I was transferring cash in a Haitian jungle, and it occurred to me, being banking for like 7, 8 years, why does this not exist in the US? Remember, this is before there was like Venmo and Zelle and everything else. It was like, write me a check.
We didn't have it that easy, right? Yeah, it was like, write me a check or
not 7 years ago.
Give me cash.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, if we can do this in a Haitian jungle, why can't we do it in the good old US of A, right? Red, white, and blue. So I came back and I found this thing called Bitcoin, which at that time was about 6 years old. But at that time, it was basically used for like nefarious purposes, like prostitution, drug smuggling, like what's called Silk Road. It was like bad. So I wasn't all that interested in it because it was really like at that time, it was this like skeptical, sketchy thing.
Totally. Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, I got into private equity and I kept reading about it. And fast forward to now I do sort of digital asset. So now I said, okay, if I'm going to go back into banking, it needs to be high energy, super like on the cutting edge, massive upside potential. And when the bank I work for said, hey, we're going to roll out, we're going to be one of the very, very first banks in the country to focus on blockchain crypto. I mean, sold.
Yeah.
Here I am.
You're like,
that's the
speaking
story.
my language. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So what, like for a company coming in like Block Spaces, obviously we work closely with them. But what about other companies like NextPath who we're with? Like, would you work with us to help get us like set up with some sort of Bitcoin like account? Or like,
so there's a lot of ways that we work with let's sort of have buckets, right? Let's call it like a fintech a bucket, which does not necessarily have anything to do with digital assets or crypto, but I work a lot with fintechs. And so what do you need? You really, what you're looking for is VC capital, private equity, but what you really need, but you don't know it yet, is you need non-dilutive capital. What does that mean? You need money that doesn't take out your equity stake, which is a traditional bank debt loan. Most banks won't lend money to startups or fintechs because you don't have any assets, you don't own any buildings, you don't have any equipment, you don't have any trucks, and you probably aren't making a ton of money because you're new or you haven't really figured out how to properly monetize the business. Well, we'll do a loan for a fintech all day long if it's the right fintech. So within this sort of what you're seeing is a lot of the fintechs that are coming up now want some exposure to digital assets. Maybe you like, for example, maybe you want to take that little thing out there and make it into an NFT and mint that thing and sell that. You're both, you're both very photo, what's the word?
Genic.
Yes. So there's probably ways. I don't want to get me too, like even on the podcast, you know what I mean? So, by the way, the people that listen, they can't see it, but like,
they can see it.
Oh, but like, okay, they can't. I'm actually more interested in like your skin and like hydration regime. So I've been in this big thing about like hyaluronic acid.
Stop it. I love that.
I got this thing called the hydrofacial recently.
Yeah. Where'd you get this?
At this little spa place down where I was, which like vacuum suctioned out all the impurities.
It cleans you out,
I think
your skin.
so. Let's say that you are let's say that you are doing lip fillers, Botox, collagen, brows, wax, whatever, right?
Okay.
You're going to have clients are going to say, look, I want to pay my $400 Roots, biolage in digital asset cryptocurrency. Yeah. So you're going to see even these fintechs, I mean, people have nothing to do with fintechs, like your salons and your high-end boutiques. Right. You want to be able to accept digital assets for payment, right? Eventually. And so we can help you out with that as well.
That would be cool. That would be really cool if you could go get a facial and just pay with
Bitcoin,
right?
Because then you don't have to mess around with your bank. It's peer-to-peer. It's truly peer-to-peer.
Right.
And it's basically, it doesn't cost you really anything at all to do that. Just one application.
I mean, I think it's
really cool.
high tech, and this isn't even close to what you're talking about, that I can use like Apple Pay on my phone.
Yeah.
Right.
But will that eventually be like, oh, I can just pay with my phone and use Bitcoin?
Exactly.
Or whatever?
So that's actually already here. There's a bunch of apps where basically you pull out a QR code. It's linked to what's called your wallet. That's like where you hold your crypto. Right. The merchant will have a little device. They'll scan it, and then they will accept your what's called Bitcoin. Really, people get intimidated because one Bitcoin right now is like $39,000 or $29,000. Yeah. Right. But you can have literally like fractional pieces where you can have like 5 cents worth of Bitcoin. It's called a Satoshi. Really? A Satoshi is like a piece of a Bitcoin.
Okay. Interesting.
So do you educate people on Bitcoin, like seminars or meetups?
I mean, I was just here doing a talk.
Yeah. What were you?
Private parties, kids' birthdays, bar mitzvahs. I'm available for like bachelorette parties. I mean, seriously, like we can do. No, I mean, it really is about education, right? Yeah. People, everyone I talk to, like at a dinner party, oh wow, you're in crypto, like that's new. Cool.
It's so
like the hottest topic.
It is, but it's so misunderstood, right? And there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of shiny objects and like golden calves out there. There's a lot of risk and people have to be very, very careful. What I'm most interested in is the underlying technology that cryptocurrency rides on, which is called the blockchain, right? Bitcoin was a blockchain before it was a cryptocurrency. And so that's where I'm really focusing, and that's where we're investing our time and resources into. How do we make the blockchain the next version of like the bank payment rails? Right. So like when you use a debit card or a credit card that goes on a certain rail, a rail is like a method of data transmission from your card to your merchant acquirer to that vendor that goes on a rail. When you get your direct deposit payroll, that goes on a rail. When you close on your mortgage and you send a wire transfer, that goes on a rail. These rails have been around for 30, 40, 50 years. And they're fine. They're very stable, but they're not as advanced, they're not as secure, they're not as cheap, and they're not as advantageous as a blockchain would be. So it's all going to end up moving that way. So like when you buy your yacht or you buy your mansion, most of those folks are, eventually want to use their Bitcoin to pay for those kinds of things.
Really? How many Bitcoins do you have? Can I ask that?
If I told you,
asking how much money you have?
It is. I'll tell you this. All of my liquid net worth is in cryptocurrencies.
Really? Wow.
So in the future, instead of having bank accounts, it will all be
digital wallets. Yeah. You won't need to go to a bank anymore. Like, look, no one goes to the bank now anyway. But like, if you want to get a loan, think about this. Okay. And this is why Bitcoin and digital assets are so powerful. If you apply for a business loan or a car loan or a car lease or a mortgage, what do you have to do? W-2, pay stubs, tax returns, affidavits, right? Yada, yada. It just goes on, right?
How much money you make, right?
In the digital asset space, exactly. In the digital asset space, you say, look, I own a Bitcoin or a piece of a Bitcoin. I'm going to give you, lender, my Bitcoin. you're going to immediately give me money. No questions asked. No credit score, no paperwork, no bank, no closing costs, no closing fee.
Just
This
because you
idea of
own a
like
Bitcoin.
Correct. So one of the things that we're working on is the ability to loan off of your digital assets. So if you own a Bitcoin or you own an Ethereum, which is another kind of cryptocurrency,
Okay.
and you want to hold it because you think it's going to go up to like $1 million a coin, which is possible. I mean, I think it could also go to zero, but it won't.
Right.
Well, it could. No investment advice here. I'm not giving investment advice. I cannot give investment advice, nor would I. But the idea would be that digital assets is not only a piece of collateral, it's also a currency, and nothing else like that really exists, right? That you have full ownership of, that you can transmit immediately with no intermediary to dilute it, like a Federal Reserve Bank raising rates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Look,
I
you guys
know.
is like the NFL is getting huge into this. Your boy Tom Brady,
Obviously,
he's
we were
big
just
right
talking
now.
about
So
Yeah,
Tom Brady
talking
right now,
about it.
he's big right now. It's like the whole he's actually into an NFT minting company, I think called Autograph, I think.
Mhm. Right.
But I mean,
That's where he's
I
selling
was
all
at-
of his pictures with his autographs. and-
Exactly.
right.
I was at a conference and Odell
Smart guy.
Beckham Jr. was talking about Bitcoin and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Right. So
I love Aaron Rodgers.
he's the greatest. Well, he's not
Tom
the
Brady's the
greatest. Yeah, I'm
greatest.
sorry.
well,
true.
whatever. I think Aaron's pretty cool.
He's the
too.
greatest. Tom's the GOAT.
Aaron, if you hear
Yeah.
this,
Tom's the
contact
GOAT.
us.
Aaron can be the greatest.
He's
Yes.
awesome.
So yeah.
Okay, I'll be okay.
Now
with
you
that.
Haitian jungles, man.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
that's
You'd be
where it
amazed
all
what-
began.
You'd be
That's
amazed what you can
crazy.
find in a Haitian
Were
jungle.
you like shoeless, barefoot in the jungle, like
mean-
Did you have,
meditating
like,
for
little,
this?
like-
yeah.
Goat or cow hides on?
Oh yeah, like a little.
That wasn't quite the look. It wasn't quite the look back then. But there are a lot of people who walk
digress.
around with no shoes and
Yeah.
no. I mean, true story. I know I can say this.
Yeah.
So I'm visiting this village. Oh my gosh. I'm in this really small village and I have to use the bathroom and there's no bathrooms.
Number
right?
one or number
none.
two?
Number two.
Okay. Just
So
wanna
I
be clear.
find a
Just
little,
wanna be
so I
clear.
find a little spot off the side of the road. And here I am. And this little kid begins to walk by and he stops and he sees me. Now keep in mind, if you're the average Haitian and you see a white person,
Right. You're very out
anywhere.
of place right now.
So imagine walking and seeing a white person on the side of the road doing his business. That kid is probably, he's scarred for life. That poor
for
young
sure.
man.
No one's gonna believe him. No one's gonna believe this story.
Hey, I saw a blanc, which is like Creole for white. I saw
Uh-huh.
a blanc on the side of the road, doing you know what.
Yeah.
It's probably like in a mental institution now. That would never have happened, right? Anyway, so there you go.
Great
That's how it all
story.
happens.
That is a great story. I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's how it all began.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Yeah,
I
my
know,
pleasure.
This
Coming
has
on.
been
That
an
was
My
amazing
pleasure.
conversation.
Yeah,
So
my
fun.
Love
pleasure.
it.
You're based here in Tampa?
I live in Naples, Fort Myers,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
but I'm here all the time. All the
Awesome.
time.
We'll
Well-
contact you when we need a Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah, anything
Or
you
a
need.
part of
We need
one.
A Bitcoin.
I mean, I'd like to have one right now. That would be great.
Do you personally
I
have any?
don't.
None, zero.
No, zero.
Do you have like an advisor that you work with, or like a firm of any kind?
Yes, but they're a little old school.
Yeah.
I'm sure you run into that all the time.
Yeah. Look, Netscape was old school at one point. AOL was old school.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, at some point, look, I'm not trying to trash the industry. I just think that, and look, there's good reason why. It's not regulated. It's highly speculative. It is very, very risky. But we believe in the power in the future.
Right. No, it would
Yeah.
still be fun to be a part of it, to have, your
A tiny
your-
little exposure, just to
Yeah.
say,
Right,
be in the club.
well, and if that's the future of like investing and money, then we need to get in it at the beginning,
right.
or it's not even the beginning. Right now, we're like,
it's still the beginning.
it is the beginning.
Look,
Yeah.
people say we're in early innings. This is the truth. We're in batting practice. Okay. We have a stadium, we have teams, we have rules, we have a field. The game hasn't even started. Like, think about this. There's a blockchain called Ethereum, which is the second largest blockchain behind Bitcoin. Last year, it processed over $11 trillion worth of payment volume. That's
Wow,
$1 trillion
that's
more
crazy.
than Visa did
Wow, that's
globally.
crazy.
Right. And like, we're still having started the game. So you think
Right.
about where this is going to go, the power of the technology.
Right.
I mean, it's where it's at.
Just the beginning.
So
Yeah.
if someone wanted to buy a Bitcoin, how
Yeah.
would they go about doing that? Or a piece of it? 'Cause
Right.
You mentioned
Yeah.
pieces of it.
There are many, many very reputable apps that you can download in the App Store. Right. I'm not going to mention them, but
Mhm.
there's several. It's almost like they're pretty much all the same. I would recommend that you, for number one, do your research, understand what the risks are, understand what you're actually buying. And then, go to the App Store or Google Store, find a reputable, what's called centralized exchange. And there's several of them.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to buy as little as $5 worth.
That's cool. I mean, I think if anything, you should just be a part of it, even for $5 worth, get your feet wet.
Anyone can do $5.
Right? Yeah.
Especially now, because like right now it's not doing so hot. So if you are going to put in $5, not giving investment advice, but if you were going to put in $5,
right.
Now could be a good time to do it.
Because
potentially
it is down from 63,000. One Bitcoin was worth 63,000, like 6 months ago. And now it's 30 something, 30 even. So, I mean, it would be a good time to get in, at least for $5 to get a piece of it.
Agreed. Hypothetically, this could be a great time.
Right. Okay.
Perhaps, maybe. Right. Consult your advisor. Right. Consult your advisor. Yeah.
Thank you
so much. That was fun.
much.
I enjoyed it.
This is amazing.